What do you take on people using Sean Porter as kind of like the measuring stick as to why they think he's going to beat you?
I'll tell people to watch the fight. Sean Porter had a fight after me. He fought, I forgot his name, the guy. Yeah, Sebastian. And watch that fight and show me and ask yourself, was that the same Sean Porter that fought me when he fought Sebastian? Did he look the same when he fought all these other guys? Ask yourself that, and then after that fight, he fight Terrence Crawford, and then he even came out in interviews saying that he didn't do the things that his dad wanted him to do, and he felt like he didn't need to do those things, and it's a lot of that stuff was unnecessary because he felt like he was already experienced and he didn't need to do those things anymore. So, I mean, we know how Sean Porter got here, listened to his dad, and doing everything his dad wanted him to do, even if he was crazy. So, he wasn't the same fighter. He was a shell in himself, and he was already on the verge of wanting to retire after Terrence Crawford anyway. So, I feel like he wasn't the same. He was not at all the same fighter as when he fought me.
What do you think?
Hey everyone, what's up? So you heard the interview. I think this is more telling than what both press conferences gave us. Just real quick, I want to address this Errol Spence being an activist for not paying sanctioning fees. Although I agree with Errol Spence and his viewpoint, I also have to kind of check him. When you're getting 3% taken out of your check, it's a pay-to-win system today in boxing. There's no real merit ranking system in the sport. Therefore, the sanctioning bodies are forced to have to monetize everything. You also got to consider that a lot of these guys are inactive, like a Keith Thurman, who gets to sit out for 2 years, not have to fight any mandatories, you understand, and they still get to retain their belt. Errol Spence also needs to understand a lot of politics was in his upbringing, in my opinion. Like, for example, when the two guys who lost to Keith Thurman get to fight for a vacant WBC belt that Keith Thurman threw away or finally relinquished while he was on his little 2-year or 3-year hiatus. Again, the two losers got to fight for a vacant belt. There's too many plastic boxing champs today in today's sport of boxing, but they typically will try to prop guys up with a belt to make the matchup seem like it's more bigger and more relevant than what it is. Again, Sean Porter's a 10-year plus pro, and you've only been a 2-time champ. In one of those, you're having that type of play being used to prop you up. Yeah, you had to fight Danny for it, but again, you both lost to Keith Thurman, and I just don't understand how you both got that opportunity if it was not Al Heyman working his little politics behind the scenes with the WBC. Ugas getting emailed a belt, you understand, while Errol Spence is signed to fight Manny Pacquiao, who was a champion in recess, you understand. Those are some of the reasons why you pay your 3%. You're paying for privileges and things like that. And the sanctioning bodies, because they know guys like to duck and cherry pick and try to be politicians and crap today, they're monetizing everything, like the franchise champion belt, for example. Canelo, for example, gets to choose his own mandatory things like that, but you're also paying extra fees for those type of privileges. If boxing did go back to a more merit system of ranking, like a basketball, like a football, that would be a whole different matter, you understand. But I do understand Errol Spence's point on that, and I do agree to a certain extent. But when you're not doing your mandatories, when you're ducking this guy, not honoring the #1 contender who earns his title shot and everything else, and you're going to go fight, the easier route, or even with Ugas back in the day with what's it called? I'm starting to forget all these alphabet belts names, but he had to chase you through 3 sanctioning bodies essentially. The IBF, you ducked him. You said, I'd rather fight Jesse Vargas. Then he went the WBC route. Then you said, I'd rather fight Danny Garcia. And then he finally, when it was convenient, he got to finally face you. And again, I don't know the whole situation between him and Manny Pacquiao or what happened. we did a video back on that in the day, how they changed the story up and everything else. For example, they said they only knew something was wrong with his eye when they got to Vegas. That was a lie. You come to find out, he knew that something was wrong with his eye 2 weeks in advance, and it was a guy who wasn't even an eye specialist that told him that something's off with his eye and he needs to see an eye specialist. That was 2 weeks before he got to Vegas. If you guys do your research, we don't cap on this channel. But again, when it's convenient now, Ugas finally got a shot. You know what I'm saying? And he was emailed his belt. So again, yeah, you're paying your 3%, but at the same time, you're also getting a lot of privilege, and they're kind of assisting you on, you know, this little kingdom that your little house of cards that you're on. So again, I get it, but at the same token, you know, you're complaining when you're finally getting your biggest payday, but you weren't complaining when you got your DUI, and some of these sanctioning bodies still allowed you to keep belts and things like that. You didn't have to fight your mandatories. So there's two sides of the coin there. But as you guys heard in this video, to me, this type of talk is more telling than anything that happened at press conferences. You know, as you were listening to it, I'm sure you saw the little screenshot of Sean Porter, how he landed his most punches on Formella. You know, I have to say, Cap, I think this guy's trying to create his own reality, and he's trying to tell himself things to make himself feel better. You understand? This is a guy, I believe, who's starting to buy into his own hype. Again, I find it weird how you can talk crap about beating Kell Brook, but you're going to prop your Kell Brook win up as if it was like the greatest win ever, when you're literally fighting a guy coming off a loss and moving down 2 weight classes, just got his face broke right before you got him, and you still went through all that much adversity that you went through against that guy. You understand that literally had everything going against him, other than the fact that you did at least give him the privilege to come to his home and fight him on his turf. But still, you know, and the fact that you are using YouTubers' talking points as well, I find that kind of odd. But this definitely solidifies and what I know to happen, and I truly believe that it's all these little things that are going to add up when Terrence Crawford does beat this dude. I also saw in another video, we didn't post that, but you know, you're saying that Danny Garcia was a better counterpuncher than Terrence Crawford. Go do your research. It's out there on the internet. If you guys want to come in my comment section, tell me I'm full of cap. This is just a sign of a fighter who, again, has to kind of subvert reality to try to make themselves feel better. I don't know what to tell you guys. The press conferences were cool, you know, but with this Sean Porter thing, let's say you're telling the truth. Sean Porter looked so shot, although he landed the most punches he ever did on any opponent in his career. It was one of his most dominant performances. You know, but you were able to tell that Sean Porter was not the same, and he was a beat shot fighter and all this other stuff who wanted to retire. You know, and you also knew that he didn't train hard for the Terrence Crawford fight. I have to further call Cap, because if that were the case, why did you run up out of the arena during the Terrence Crawford and Sean Porter fight? These are questions that I ask myself. So I don't think Spence really believes this story, and quite, you know, personally, I think he needs to put the blunt down if you are smoking. You know what I'm saying? You need to stop drinking, smoking, whatever it is that you're doing. To me, this is just pure delusion. And, you know, I think it's going to be hard hitting when he's getting beat up by Terrence Crawford. It's going to be harder for him to accept that reality. He's telling everybody he's stepping, he's going to knock Terrence Crawford out, all this other stuff. I mean, dude, that's all fine and dandy, but we've been watching him knockouts disappear throughout the years. Again, even against a Ugas, a guy who stood there literally right in front of you. You know what I'm saying? It took the ring doctor to stop that fight. You know, like, again, I don't know maybe the coke is kind of eating up your muscle. I don't know, dude. And I'm not really trying to throw shots, but I just see a guy who's kind of bought into his own hype, is crafting his own reality. And I'm telling you, the truth is going to become more real and real as this gets closer to the fight. You understand? And again, when Crawford's in there outlanding you, hitting you with hard shots, you know, you're telling everybody you have skills and fundamentals and that crap ain't working. You got better defense and whatever else these fans are parroting off each other. You know, I think it's just going to make those blows a lot more harder to deal with. You understand? But these are early signs of a disillusioned guy. You had a nice little run, Errol Spence, but it's little signs like this that tell us, where you truly are. The press conference, I don't need to talk about that. Both guys got mutual respect, but in the second press conference, I did see Crawford be a little bit more poised in the zone than he was in the first press conference. And he's just telling people how he believes it's going to be. Errol Spence, I can tell the fact that, you're trying to discredit this man and denigrate him, which you and Derek James have always done these past years, and how this man's hitting you back and making you face even little facts that you didn't necessarily fight the best book either. I see him already taking shots in this fight. The fight's already started. To me, the mental is the most important in boxing. It's not the physical. There have been guys that got in car wrecks, were paralyzed, and walked again and came back, fought, won a championship or whatnot. That's occurred, guys. The physical is not what I'm worried about at all. It's always the mental. And when I see little telltale signs like this, I know you're not ready. You know what I'm saying? Mentally, and that's where the true battle is going to be fought. If you're disillusioned and you're not grounded in reality, and that's another thing. Crawford, to me, is more grounded in reality right now. I don't think Spence is going to be able to, he's not going to be able to deal with the truth as it's happening to him. You know what I'm saying? When two fighters meet, they are claiming that this is the world. And the other fighter, the victor, reinforces that his world actually exists more than the loser. You understand? And I think the fact that Terrence Crawford has made it this far to begin with, they tried to treat Crawford like he's a peasant. You understand? And, you were the guy, you came from a two-parent household. You had a nice life. I've seen your mom and daddy, they paid for all your expenses and things like that. You had the money there to support you. I don't think you never had to deal with being hungry and that type of lifestyle. Again, I think all these little things are going to add up in the end. We can also talk about training, who's been taking care of themselves. I saw another interview where he admitted that Terrence Crawford looks like he's closer to weight. You know what I'm saying? And we've been hearing this dude complain about the weight for years as well. I also think he's kind of in that checked out part of his life. He's mentioned on multiple occasions that, belts don't feed my kids. He only cared about the legacy and that type of stuff when he was a younger fighter, but now he's more about financials. And he's talking about how a lot of these Hall of Famers are broke. I get that, man, especially when you got kids. But again, I've been hearing this kind of talk for years. And I think you're just at that point where you're somewhat checked out. You talked about Sean Porter not training hard and things like that. I noticed that Sean Porter took breaks and, was playing go-karts. And here you are, you're playing paintball, you know what I'm saying? I also heard that this dude was at day parties, so in Texas. So again, we can't really create a new reality where Sean Porter, I guess, looks so beat up and shot as a fighter against Formella. You didn't even remember the name of the guy that he fought. And again, if you knew this knowledge before, you were sitting in the stands during the Terrence Crawford versus Sean Porter fight, what was the reason for you to walk out and run out of that arena, man? You know what I'm saying? Why, you're a grown man and you now listening to Derek James tell you have a curfew and don't be a part of the show. I'm sure Derek James has tried to tell Errol Spence before to stop drinking and come to the gym. And I'm pretty sure a lot of times you didn't listen to him. But now all of a sudden against a Sean Porter who was shot and ready to retire and at the end of his career and didn't train hard, you magically just get up and run out of the arena. Again, I know this stuff is cap. And of course, the Denny Garcia is a better counterpuncher. It's definitely cap. This sounds to me like stuff he has to tell himself to make himself feel better, to better deal with reality. Because, I don't think he is going to, he's mentally right for this fight. Again, I think it's taken some crazy extremes for them to get to this point, especially 5 or 6 years, however long it took for this fight to get made. And I do believe Crawford's going to be victorious on the night of fight. This just further solidifies it. From a skill point, we can still talk about that, but from the mental aspect, I see Crawford as a more mature fighter, the guy who can come with better comebacks and things like that. I do see Crawford as the mentally sharper fighter right now. I don't hear Crawford saying, Ricky Burns, was a better inside fighter than Errol Spence, those type of comments. To say that Danny Garcia is a better counterpuncher than Terrence Crawford is crazy on its own. Again, trying to craft this subverted reality where I guess Sean Porter was just the most beat fighter ever. You can tell if you watch Formella again when this dude landed the most punches he ever landed on any opponent in his career. I just find that cap, and especially how you ran out of that arena, man. To me, these are red flags, and these are, to some, they're not going to put too much stock in this, but I'm telling you, guys that are disillusioned and start to believe their own hype, this definitely may be the end for Errol Spence. I'm just letting you guys know. We've already stated before that this is going to be a harsh reality for a lot of you, and it's going to be a harsh reality for Spence too. Another thing is, I hear you Spence fans in my comment section. I see him in the chat during the press conference. You seem so confident, but again, the only reason Terrence Crawford is a favorite, although it's pretty much even, is because none of you dudes are putting your money on Spence. I mean, I want you guys to put your money on Spence. Help us out. You understand? If your guy's going to win and it's big fish and man down, and hopefully he brings back the shag as well and all that, get you guys even more hype. Put your money on him, please. That's all I got to say for now. We will come out with more videos. Again, not much to take from the second press conference that nobody else is talking about. The far better channels covering this topic, but we're just showing you, starting to point out little red flags that you start to see when opponents, they've just had too many yes men with them. Oh, it's okay, Spence, you can get drunk. You can go flip your car. That's fine. You're just living your life. All these little things are going to add up in the end, guys. And I'm telling you right now, it's only going to get worse as we get closer to the night of the fight. And, I'm putting my money on Terrence Crawford for a reason, but I hope you guys start putting your money on Spence, you Errol Spence fans, man. That's all I got to say for now. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.